everybody. Welcome to a special early morning Naked Truth. I got to be careful adjusting camera while I'm live. But hi, how are you? This is early morning face, early morning hair in the grand spirit of the Naked Truth, where nothing is hidden and I am just as I am. Because real life. Because too much in social media, people are airbrushed and only showing the highlight reel of their life, if you will. This is real life, friends. This is real quarantine life. Messy hair. I did brush my teeth. I will tell you that. I did brush my teeth and I put on moisturizer because if anyone's watching this in 1080p and notices my skin looks a little flaky, I ran out of my normal moisturizer, so I went a couple days without, and then I found some old moisturizer and I was like, oh, I'll just use this till my new stuff gets here. And I think my old moisturizer was either expired or had something in it that my skin does not agree with, because now I'm like, my face is like crazy peeling like I've been out in the sun, but I haven't been out in the sun at all. I've been a total shut-in. So anyway, welcome everybody. Joan says, how did you sleep? I slept okay. I actually stayed up late playing that new Unmatched Buffy the Vampire Slayer board game that I got sent. So I was up till about 1 playing that, and then I woke up this morning to a sound of a little dude sobbing. So of course I jumped out of bed and ran into his room to see that he had had an accident. It was really sad. So unfortunately that's not the most pleasant way to wake up, but you know, mom life, parent life. Anyone out there that is a parent will understand. Is that the Alienware chair I'm thinking of buying, says Jason Barunda? Sure is. I like it. I've had it for a while now. So welcome everybody. Bernard says, thoughts on the Pixel 5. I should do a full video on the Pixel 5. I haven't. I've done some Amazon live streams on it. So if you want to check out my thoughts on it, you can see it on my Amazon, which is amazon.com/shop/Trisha Hershberger. But I mean, the TLDR is, so far I like it. I don't know that I like it more than the 4XL. But it's okay. I'm still messing with it. I'm still getting used to it. Byron says, jealous of your Keyblade. That's awesome. Thank you. But yeah, this is a lot earlier than a Naked Truth normally is. And normally I do them on Saturdays. So it's kind of all over the place, but pandemic life, you know? So anyway, in the Naked Truth channel of the Discord, which if you're not in the Discord, please go ahead and join. It is a lovely place to hang out. In the Naked Truth section of the Discord, what was the topic you guys brought up that I thought was great? Oh, okay, here. STS2884 said, since it's Trisha's anniversary, it was just me and Nate's 5-year anniversary, what about a Naked Truth on how being in long-term relationships change you versus how you are like in the beginning? I've never been in one, so I don't know. That's what STS says. And then another member of our community said, having just celebrated 14 years of marriage, I would like to hear others' perspective on long-term success. So it's interesting because I think of 5 years of marriage as still like yes, while it's been incredible that it's been 5 years, I still think of it as very new, especially in comparison to people I know, like Onyx, who've been married 14 years, or my parents who've been married 40 years. Like, I'm like, am I really qualified to talk about 5 years? But I guess in comparison to people who haven't had any kind of relationship that long, I can speak about it. And I was thinking about, I wanted to get Nate on this so we could like do a comparison from the Naked Truth over 5 years ago where we were like, we're getting married, to the current one. But then who would watch Logan? So that's different now for sure. But I guess I'm someone that's always been a long-term relationship person, meaning that even when I used to date, it was more common for me to have a relationship that lasted 1 year plus than it was for me to have like a quicker relationship or something that was under a year. So like the first relationship I had was 4+ years, and then I think I had a 3+ year and a 2+ year, and then another 3+ year. Like it's serial monogamist, I believe was the term I used to use. But yeah, it's just, the difference is when you get to that comfy point in the relationship. You know what I mean? Thank you, Cyclops, for the happy anniversary wishes. You are awesome sauce. Byron says, parenting is hard in your sleep, but it's the most rewarding thing I've ever done in my life. Yeah, it is pretty fun. I know, my poor dude. He was so sad this morning. But yeah, so let me just actually make sure that I have this open. Sorry guys, it's early morning, so I'm doing it live. Oh, so funny. So funny. Okay, here, I just want to make sure that I can see all of your chat. There we go. Okay, now I can see everybody. I wanted to make sure it wasn't just selectively giving me chat. You know what I mean? Okay, there we go. Now I can see everybody. Oh, Lex says happy anniversary. I didn't know. Not checking the Discord. You know what? It's okay. It happens to everybody. I'm on the Discord almost every day. But yeah, so how relationships change in the long term. And I'm sure lots of people have different opinions on what you can do for long-term success. For me and Nate, and I didn't do this in other relationships, but I probably should have, couples therapy is fantastic. It's really just chatting with someone who is an objective third party. And for Nate and I, it helps to just give us a time to say, okay, on this evening, every week, we're going to dedicate an hour to listening to each other. That's really what it is. And yes, there's a third party person there, but sometimes it's just us talking and she doesn't even say anything. But it's like, for that hour once a week, we are going to check in with each other, see how we're doing, see what we can be doing better, and listen to the other person's concerns. I think it's hard when you're that far into a relationship to not just default to, well, or I guess in any relationship, early or later, it's hard to have those awkward conversations. And I think a lot of people say, well, it's fine enough as it is, so I might as well just not worry about it, But it's so important to have those conversations. Before Nate and I got married, we did a marriage class where they really talked about how, just like with friendships or any relationships, unspoken truths that seem like little things can build up over time and then turn into really big things because you didn't talk about them for so long. So communication is key. But there's this big difference between early relationships and later relationships as far as your comfort level, at least for me, where early in a relationship, I would say even within the first, 2 years, you're still kind of in that puppy dog love feeling, I'm going to sit up. I see that I'm like shrinking as I'm talking. You're still kind of in that puppy dog love phase where everything is fantastic and it's very hard to see the other person's shortcomings or failings because you're just so Twitter-pated. And as you get more comfortable, you start really seeing that person for who they are as a complete package, which is why I think some people, not everyone, but some people can get into trouble making long-term commitments too early when you're still in that like puppy dog love phase. But once you get into that super comfortable phase, then I think a lot of people who aren't used to being in a longer term relationship think that, oh, well, I must not be in love anymore because you're not feeling that puppy dog love in the same way. But there is a beauty and in my opinion, such an intense, deep love to being in that comfortable phase. I think that's why when I was dating, I was a serial monogamist, because I love that comfortable feeling. I love that, like, hey, I know that I can trust you. I know that I can depend on you. You are my person. We can operate as partners. Like that to me is what it's all about. And like I said, while some people kind of thrive in that I don't know what's going to happen and that makes it exciting kind of puppy dog phase, those are definitely two phases that exist, especially as you get into a longer term relationship. Jim Jackson, thank you for the super chat, says happy anniversary. Thank you so much. Tulufa says, I've never been in a long-term relationship or any relationship for that matter, but I always like learning about subjects I will probably never experience. Smiley face. I appreciate the smiley face at the end. There's a lot of people in this community, because I've known people in this community for years, that made comments like that and since then have met their person and gotten married and would give you the advice, just hang in there, it will happen. I think a lot of us feel that way, and I have heard those stories, like I said, from this community over the years. Cat Ninja says, what is this episode's theme? This episode's theme is pretty much what STS suggested in the Naked Truth Discord channel, about kind of the difference between being in a long-term relationship and who you are in a relationship when you're just starting out. So I think a lot of people, when they are in that puppy dog phase, are so eager to impress that they're only showing their best qualities. Funny, kind of like how I started this Naked Truth talking about how social media is the highlight reel and a lot of it's airbrushed. You're kind of showing someone your social media self in the beginning of a relationship because we all want to make a good impression. But really, that early part of dating is so important because not only are you really hoping the person likes you, it's a job interview that goes both ways, if you will. You should also be figuring out if this person is right for you. I think so many of us are concerned with, but can I just be right for them, please? And not even thinking about, are they right for me? Because we're Twitter pated. We're in the puppy dog love, so you only see the brilliant parts of them. And that can be tough. JDB says, this is interesting. I've only been in the puppy love phase. Yeah, you've probably heard of the book, or some of you may have heard of the book, The 5 Love Languages. It is spoken about often, especially when people are leading up to marriage or something like that, because it's a book that's often referred to people kind of when you are in the more comfortable phase of your relationship and people are starting to worry, just because I'm in this comfortable phase, does that mean that something has changed in my relationship? Or I guess people that are in the comfortable phase, that can, if you don't take care of your relationship, because a relationship is just like anything else, it requires work over the years. If you don't take care of that relationship, it can start to deteriorate. And The 5 Love Languages is a book where it helps you to focus on what is the love language you speak in, what is the love language your partner speaks in, and make sure you're speaking their language and they're speaking your language so that you can both continue to put work into that relationship and keep it thriving and keep it active. So that happens a lot too. Humor Dubai says, one must be self-aware enough to know what one wants as well and understand that is important as well. 100%. Erica says, you shouldn't have to change yourself for that person, I think. I 100% agree. So, I mean, in the beginning of the relationship, like I said, I think a lot of us are focused on what can I do to be right for the other person, but I cannot stress enough how important it is for you to think, but is this other person right for me? Because if this other person isn't right for me, then I'm just wasting my time spinning my wheels trying to impress and work on a relationship that ultimately probably isn't going to work. So if you kind of think of it as, I mean, it's not romantic to say it's a job interview on both sides, but it kind of is. And I'm a very analytical, logical person, so that makes sense to me. Someone else who is probably more romantic or, maybe more creative is the right word to say, might be able to describe it in better terms. But for me, that's how I think of it. And then once you've determined that this person is really what you want, the whole package of them, the good, the bad, all of it, once you've determined this is the person that I want for me, and you get into the comfortable phase of the relationship, like I said, to me, that's my favorite part. There are so many lovely things about that comfortable phase that don't exist in the puppy dog phase. The puppy dog phase is beautiful too, but they're beautiful for some different reasons. Some of the same, but some different reasons. But yeah, the Love Languages book, the reason I bring that up is because it talks a lot in that book about how when people transition from the puppy dog phase to the comfortable phase, especially if people have only ever been in the puppy dog phase, sometimes that can be a really rough transition for people and they don't know how to deal with it. Or they think because they've moved into the comfortable phase that the relationship isn't thriving anymore or the love isn't there anymore. And really, the love is deeper and it's just different in that phase. So for me, that's what long-term relationships are. Like I said, when I was dating, all my relationships were longer term for dating. Obviously, my husband is the person I've been with the longest. We realized, so it was just our 5-year wedding anniversary, but we've been dating for 7 years. So that is the longest I've been with anyone for sure. But yeah, it looks a little different at that point, and that's okay. Steve Snow says, my wife and I grew apart over the course of our 20 years together, 18 years married. There's so much I would go back and change, but I know I cannot. I'm still trying to figure everything out. I'm sorry to hear that, Steve. And I have heard that story very many times from people that I know personally. And that's one of the reasons that Nate and I do couples therapy fairly regularly, especially through quarantine, because we know people that that's happened to. And we thought, as a preventative measure, before we get to the point where we feel like we've grown apart and, we're kind of past the point of no return, if that is a thing that exists. I don't know if it is in relationships, but before we even get close to that point, let's make sure we're doing the work now. Let's make sure we're focusing on each other now and focusing on how our relationship can grow and change, because it will. And I think that's why a lot of people move from that puppy dog phase to that comfortable phase, because there are things in your relationship and in the way that you interact with each other that will inherently change. When you get married, your interactions change. When you live together, your interactions change. When you have a child together, your interactions really change and your priorities change. And like I said, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think a lot of people see that change and get confused or don't really know how to handle it. But over the years, lots and lots of stuff are going to change. You're going to change. Your partner's going to change. And you kind of have to look at it as an opportunity to grow and change together. But that takes work. That takes actually sitting down and saying, hey, are my priorities different? How are they different? How can I communicate that to you? What do you as my partner need from me? What do I as a partner need from you? And constantly kind of having that check-in and just making sure that you're there for each other. Creature Curse says, Trisha, my wife and I have been together for 20 years and married for 10. Congratulations. If you have long-term relationship advice, put it in here. Like I said, I feel like the newbie. 7 years is not a lot in comparison to people who I know who've been married much longer. Boom12 says, I kept clinging to a failing relationship for 4 years. I think I stayed because I didn't want to feel like it was all a waste. I wanted to make it work, but I was failing on my part. I will tell you, I have also been in relationships where I stayed way too long because I was trying to make it work. And I think part of that struggle is having that constant check-in, not just for like what I can do for my partner, but also what do I need from my partner. And I think in staying in a relationship that was wrong for so long, I think the part that I was missing was checking in with myself and thinking, what do I need from my partner? And is that person still fulfilling it and communicating it? And I just didn't know. I was a lot younger and I hadn't been in enough relationships or, kind of experienced enough of life to really understand. And as a very stubborn person, I'm like, make the shoe fit. It's like the Cinderella stepsisters cutting off the heel to fit in that shoe. Don't cut off your heel to fit in the shoe. If the shoe doesn't fit, just get a new shoe. My sister told me that when I was dating, and I was really upset because one of my really long-term relationships had ended. And I felt the same way. I felt like I had just wasted so much time. And she was like, hey, you're still dating. Just go shopping for a different shoe. Don't force the shoe to fit. And I was like, oh my God, you're so right. All right, let's see. Michael King says, communication is key. I had a somewhat short-term relationship, 6 months, that ended ultimately because she couldn't say anything the last time I saw her. And yes, I do think I was in that too long. Yep. And Comic Trio says, 4 decades married here. Don't be selfish. Don't let anger fester and embrace forgiveness. Yes, embrace forgiveness is such a good one. Don't let anger fester. Like Nate and I try to have the rule, never go to bed mad. If one of us is angry, Nate and we deal with it in different ways. When we're having a disagreement or an argument, I want to deal with it right away. He needs some time to process. So we've learned that about each other through communication. And now I know, like, okay, if you want to take a walk or you want to revisit this like 8 hours from now or tomorrow, like, let's talk about when we can have time to process it and then figure it out. And when you say you're sorry and when you talk about it, it is super important to mean that. And so there've been I'm a very stubborn person. My husband is a very stubborn person. There have been times when we've both been just outrageously frustrated with each other. But when you say, I'm sorry, I'm choosing to forgive you, you have to mean that. And what that means is the next day you can't be like, I'm still mad about yesterday. Just move on. And not to say move on and don't deal with the issue. deal with the issue. Bring it up in therapy. Deal with the issue. Talk about it to death. But at least that anger and stubbornness part, if you can let that go and think my marriage or my relationship is more important than my pride in this moment, which is a hard thing to do. It sounds silly. It sounds obvious, but it's actually a very hard thing to do. If you can think my relationship, my marriage is more important than my pride and my winning whatever this argument is, that helps a ton. Curtis Jeremiah, thank you for the super chat. Says, I've never been in a relationship. I'm okay with that. But I've been told by friends and family that I'm the type of person who should be in a relationship, which, low-key, I'm proud to hear. Well, just because you haven't been in a romantic relationship doesn't mean that you're not practicing a lot of the same stuff in a platonic or a family relationship as well. All of these kind of communication issues I find come up. They come up in different ways, but come up in other things too. Like when you talk about a friend breakup, that can be just as bad or worse than a relationship breakup. And again, a lot of that is also communication and prioritizing the relationship over your pride or your stubbornness, etc. Let's see. Genevieve Bergman says the 6 most powerful words in a relationship are please forgive me and I forgive you. It is more powerful than just I'm sorry. That is 100% correct, Genevieve. In our marriage courses before we got married, which were very good, we still laugh about certain parts of them, but we actually use them. It said, when you say I'm sorry, always say I'm sorry. Do you forgive me? Which, again, we laugh about now, and when we're both like super heated, it makes us laugh to say, hey, I'm sorry. Do you forgive me? Which is good that we can then laugh in that moment. But it's so important because then the other person has to think, do I forgive them? If not, why not? Or can I, in this moment, say, thank you for saying you're sorry. Yes, I forgive you. And then kind of let that dissipate. Humor Dubai says, winning is a nothing burger, because if that's your goal, you've already lost, possibly much more than an argument. Right. And like I said, if you're a perfectionist, very stubborn person, like this lady, or like my husband, it's very easy to get consumed in the winning aspect of it, even if it's subconscious. You probably don't even know that's why you're still arguing. But if you've ever found yourself in that place where you're like, I'm still arguing and I don't even remember what I was arguing about, but I'm really mad, a lot of times that is part of to blame. Let's see. The NL says, I've never been in a relationship, but one thing I've noticed is that a lot of people whose relationships go sour, it's because they reach a certain level of comfort and they just stop trying. That is a great point. And like I was saying with us, our way to make sure that we keep trying is by dedicating 1 hour a week. We do it with a couples therapist, but you could do it without too. Dedicating 1 hour a week to just focus on our relationship and what can we be doing better. The Love Languages book focuses on filling your love bucket, which kind of sounds gross. But the idea behind it is, constantly checking in with your partner and saying like, hey, am I fulfilling your needs? And if not, how could I be doing better? And having an honest conversation about that, which sometimes can be very awkward to have, because when you are comfortable and living in like comfy, lovey land, it's not always the most fun thing to be like, hey, are you unhappy? Like, why bring it up if things are okay, But it's so important to do. You have to keep working on it. And Nate said, so he said if he was going to be on today's Naked Truth with me, what he would say was that his big tip is flowers. He thinks getting flowers for no reason is the easiest thing you can do for your partner if they like flowers, because they're inexpensive. You can pick them up on your way home from wherever you are running around, and just writing in a little note like, I appreciate you, or thinking of you today, or something like that, can go such a long way. Like, it's minimal effort for maximum reward. So to my husband, who has a very analytical brain, that is like one of the key easy things you can do. But I think what's really behind that, the message behind that, is don't stop trying. keep working on it. Always keep working on it. Put effort into it, even when you feel comfortable and you feel like you don't have to, because that work you put into it that I think comes so naturally when you're in the puppy dog love phase, because the puppy dog love phase is a bit of an obsession. So every waking moment of every day, you're like, oh, what can I be doing for this person? And as you settle into the comfortable phase, part of the beauty in that is that you feel like, oh, I don't have this need to constantly perform and constantly impress. I can just be myself. But you're right. When you get too comfortable and start working on it and stop working on it, then that can become an issue. So some of the things that that I can do for my husband, he does not appreciate flowers in the same way that I do. Not that I'm a big flower fiend or anything like that. To me, it's just nice that I'm like, oh, you went out of your way to do something just to make me happy today. That makes me feel really special. Thank you. So for him, something that I used to joke around that my flowers for him were like a really nice bottle of bourbon. If I picked up a nice bottle of bourbon and wrote a little thing on it, and just, surprise, I brought this for you. But other things that I can do, I know it drives him crazy when I have piles of stuff throughout the house. I am a very organized person, but I don't have enough room in this office. So a lot of times the things that I have for work spill into the other parts of the house, and I know that irritates him, whether he says it or not. Sometimes he says it. Sometimes he lets it go. But I know that if I take the time to kind of organize the spot on our kitchen counter where when we come in, everything kind of gets dumped, or something like that, that goes a long way for him. Normally he's the one who takes out the trash can. So if I take a chore that's normally his and go out of my way to do it for him to make his day a little easier, that makes him feel really nice. And these are just things through lots of communication. We've kind of figured out, like, okay, this is important to you. This makes a difference to you. So if I want to show my partner that I appreciate him, here are some things I can do. And I think before I was good at communication, or better at communication, I used to think like, well, they should just know. They should just know that, like, you've heard the, like, I want you to want to do the dishes. I forget what movie that was from, but you've probably heard that. Your partner's not a mind reader. They don't know what you want. You have to tell them. Even if that feels, I don't know, even if it feels like you shouldn't have to tell them. Like, I think that is a fallacy, that you shouldn't have to tell them. I think you need to clearly communicate, these are my wants, these are my needs, before you can just expect someone to meet them. And again, all of this is communication. It's all communication based. Naughty Newfie says the whole idea of happy wife, happy life is destructive. Should be happy spouse, happy house. Oh, I love happy spouse, happy house. If all the focus is on pleasing one person, the other slowly dies inside. I agree with you. And I would say, in addition to slowly dies inside, slowly becomes very passive aggressive. And that passive aggressive thing is bottling up small problems until they've snowballed into big problems. And then by the time you finally talk about them, they're huge problems that sometimes your relationship can't move past. Whereas if you had just talked about them when they were small problems, it would have been just like a minor speed bump instead of driving off a cliff. Bye, Catnip Ninja. Thank you for tuning in. No Rapper says, for me, it's to just surprise me. So yeah, here's a good question for you guys. What is it for you that makes a difference to you? And not just in romantic relationships, but in platonic relationships. What makes you happy that other people can do for you? And sometimes that's hard to pin down. Sometimes you really have to do a lot of self-examination to think about what that is. Garth McMurray says, I agree that you have to keep working to romance and surprise your partner. I'm an artist, so just drawing a card or a nice drawing and hiding them in a drawer, purse, or bathroom cabinet, etc. was nice. That is really nice. Let's see. I like happy spouse, happy house, says Lisa. I do too. I like that a lot. Lucas says, Trisha's the therapist we all need. Definitely not. I am not able to be anybody's therapist. I can just pass on the things I have learned about myself in therapy. Eduardo Ramirez says, to be completely honest. That's great. Communication. Yes, 100%. Curtis Jeremiah says, don't be a dick. I think that would be a rule of mine. Oh, that's definitely a good rule. But what is it that your partner or another person could do for you that would make you feel special? Humility between friends is an amazing thing. Boom 12. I agree. And Alberac says, just knowing that they legitimately care about me makes all the difference. Absolutely. Yes, 100%. So yeah, those were just my thoughts that I came up with when reading what STS2884 in the Discord had suggested for a topic for today. It was just our 5-year anniversary. Thank you so much to everybody for the anniversary wishes. It feels like it's gone by in a flash. But Nate and I are no strangers to hard work, and hard work on our relationship. And, there have been many times, even early in our relationship, and I think especially early in your relationship, if you're focusing on communicating, a lot of speed bumps are going to come. And you know what? There's a friend of mine who y'all know from the internet, but I'm not going to say her name. A friend of mine who you all know, who early in her relationship had an issue with her partner. And it seemed like a speed bump that, she was wondering, is this too big of a speed bump? Is this something I can't get past, or is this something I can? And at that time, I was not married yet, and I probably wasn't the best for advice, but I just, kind of said, in my opinion, and in the long-term relationships I've been through, when you reach one of those speed bumps, yes, it's hard to talk about in the moment. Yes, it seems really bad right now, but if you can work through it and get through it together, it's only going to cement your relationship stronger. And long story short, this friend of mine did work through it and did cement the relationship stronger, and is now married to that partner. So, as uncomfortable as it can seem, as scary as it can seem, those things are so important and only make you stronger. I see some people were asking about age and dating, and that's a whole completely different, Naked Truth topic for another time. But anyway, I have to run because I'm going to take my little man to a pumpkin patch farm drive-through experience. I don't feel comfortable going out to a pumpkin patch in my area because I feel like there might be a lot of anti-maskers running around, and I'm not about dealing with that with my family. It's just not worth the risk to me. But this is, you stay in your car and drive through. So someone compared it on Twitch yesterday to like a pumpkin safari. It's kind of like a pumpkin safari. So I'm going to go take my family to do that. And my normally scheduled Sunday morning stream, which usually starts around 10 or 10:30 a.m., is going to be pushed until later in the day today. So if you want to know when that's going to be, the best thing to do is to just join the Discord, because I don't know how long we're going to be at the pumpkin safari. So yeah, join the Discord. You'll get the notifications. And the link for the Discord should be in the description below. So thank you everybody for being here. Thank you for having this chat with me. If you want to make your own Naked Truth videos, very old school video response style, you can do that, and feel free to post it to the Naked Truth channel in the Discord, or just continue the conversation in the comments below or in that Discord channel. And hopefully I will see you on Twitch very soon. On this YouTube channel, the next videos I will be posting is part 2 of my Assassin's Creed Valhalla early demo, which is cool because that game doesn't come out for a little bit yet, and I got early access, which makes me feel so cool. I don't get early access to a lot of video games, so when I do, I'm very excited about it. So yeah, that's going to come out soon, and as always, if you have any other folks or other topics that you want to see on this channel, please put them in the Discord or in the comments section. I'm very at a loss of what to do with this YouTube channel because YouTube's algorithm wants you to just make one thing all the time, and that's kind of not what I do with my pre-recorded videos. So I'm always, this is your community. If there's anything in particular you want to see or think might be a good direction, always let me know. I'm happy to have that conversation. So thank you. I hope you are all well. Stay safe, everybody, and I will see you soon. Bye, everyone.